In 2015, a movie came out by the name of Inside Out. Now, if you don't know what that movie is, let me give you a brief summary. The movie is about a girl named Riley and how all the emotions inside her head help her interact with everyone in her life. Now, Riley has 5 emotions: joy, anger, disgust, fear, and sadness. And like you would guess, her main emotion is joy. This meant that joy would control her emotional board, but this also meant that the majority of Riley's interactions with people around her were very joyful. But this also meant that normally Riley was a very happy person. Now, you're probably wondering what this movie has anything to do with me or my talk. Well, just like Riley, every single one of us has a main emotion that controls us and how our interaction with everyone goes. For some, their main emotion might be joy, just like Riley, or sadness, or fear, or disgust. But for me, that main emotion would be anger. Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely have the other emotions running around in my brain, but for the majority of my life, anger has been the lead emotion in pretty much everything I do and how my interactions with people go. This doesn't mean that I'm just angry from sunup to sundown, but it does mean that I have blown things out of proportion because I was too blinded by my anger. A prime example would be when I was about 4 or 5 and my brother had upset me over something so small that to this day I cannot remember what it was. But what I do know is that he upset me so bad to the point that I had to grab a pen from his desk, click it open, grab his head, and jam it into his scalp. But not even a minute later, he did the same thing to me, so that makes us even. Or the time when I was 7 and my cousin and I were on a water slide and she was taking too long and I had to let her know how upset she was making me for wasting my time. So I grabbed her arm and I bit her hand and I told her to move out of my way so I could go down the slide. Now, it was all fun and games until she told my grandma, who told my dad, who made me sit in a timeout and think about what I had done. Now, that was probably one of the worst things that could have ever happened to me since I was unable to go outside and play. Well, everyone thought that I learned my lesson, and I had to, until about 30 minutes later when my brother was blocking my bedroom door and I grabbed him and I bit his shoulder and I went into my room. Or like the time when I was 9 and in a storytelling club and this girl had grabbed my fruit cup from my lunchbox and started running around the classroom. Now, obviously, I ran after her so I could get my fruit cup back. But instead of asking for it nicely like I would today, I grabbed her by the arm, yanked her over to me, and bit her cheek so she could truly understand how upset I was. To make a long story short, I had to write her an apology letter, and the talking to I got from my parents was not any better. Looking back at all these moments, I realize now that I should not have let my anger consume me and that I should not have been too blinded to just think about it from a very calm perspective, and it definitely was not worth any of the trouble I got into, even if I did get my fruit cup back in the end. As you can tell, my anger was a little bit of a problem considering I was going around biting and stabbing people who inconvenienced me. But back then, I never saw it as something to change or as a big problem until it started to affect the relationships with the people I cared about most, my family and friends. As I got older, my anger continued to go unchecked. It wouldn't just come in short temper tantrums that I would have every once in a while with random people. I would become angry no matter what someone would say to me, whether it was some constructive criticism or a little helpful tip that would genuinely help me in the long run. Due to my anger and pride, I felt that they didn't care about me, and since I felt this way, I would do what I did best, get angry and blow things out of proportion. This behavior would affect my friendships and how close people would want to get to me because of how angry and aggressive I was to them. This would then result in me yelling, jumping on tables, and on the very rare occasion, hitting someone with my 1-liter Essence water bottle. Or with my family when I would yell at them to leave me alone and let me live my life and let me do me. Over the time, as I got older, I realized that getting angry and lashing out at people was never a good thing to do, and I needed to find a better way to convey that I was upset besides lashing out at people over small, insignificant things. I realize now that I let my anger consume me and mess up relationships with amazing people who truly did not deserve the treatment that I gave them. I would like to say sorry. To my friends, past and present, I'm sorry for getting angry when I shouldn't have. I'm sorry for getting loud and crazy when I shouldn't have. But most of all, I am so sorry for blowing up when all we needed to do was sit down and talk. To my mom, dad, and James, I am so sorry for always yelling and never listening to the lessons that you were trying to teach me. I'm sorry for the times that I was a bad daughter and sister. I'm sorry for ignoring you and thinking that you didn't want anything good for me. I hope that in the few months we have left together before I go off to college, that we can mend our relationship and you can teach me all the lessons that I missed out on. But most importantly, I am so sorry for not giving you the love that an amazing family like you deserves. At the end of Inside Out, after Riley went through this emotional roller coaster, she realized that it's okay to be happy, scared, disgusted, mad, or sad. She learned that you are not you without all of your emotions, and that it's not healthy to let one emotion control your life. My point was not for me to stand here and tell you how angry I am, and that one day I suddenly fixed everything and that I stopped being negative and angry and that I'm a saint. Let's all be real. That's just not possible. That doesn't happen. When you have a problem, like my anger, for example, you don't just wake up one day and have a new outlook on life and realize what you did was wrong. It takes a lot of self-reflection to realize what you did wrong and to modify that behavior. I am working on it. I have learned, just like Riley, that if you feel sad, scared, angry, happy, or disgusted, that's a part of life. You can't let one emotion consume you and take over your life and set out how everything goes. And learn from me, so that way you aren't going around biting and stabbing people. Thank you.